be right at foot. He's going to be right at foot. So you got to still persevere no matter what you're going through. You got to persevere. So I want you to give yourselves a hand for coming out. Oh, I packed my Tedx okay tonight. Because you could have been at, even though the weather doesn't permit, you could have been at somebody's backyard barbecue. I want you to also celebrate who I share the son, one daughter that's sitting right there. Raise your hand, Karen. And so, for the theme of tonight, the poll chose Wake Up Sis. And to wake up, sometime last year before last, I was planning a conference seminar. It was called The Awakening. So it wasn't quite Wake Up Sis. Wake up is kind of abrupt to me, but it was The Awakening. And then COVID hit. And COVID has affected so many lives. But one of the things about, my mother did not pass from COVID, but one of the things her passing has taught me is to go forward, move forward, because you only get one life to live. And it's up to you what you make of this life. It doesn't matter if you were molested, if you were abandoned, or if you got parent or mother or father issues. You still have to find a way to move forward. You got to find a reason to get up out of the bed every day. And you know, sometimes your why has to be bigger. You have to find a why. What is your why? Sometimes we get up in the morning and we don't feel like getting out of the bed. But when your why is so big, you look forward to getting out of the bed in the morning. You got to find a why. See, because what I do know is that we all have a creator, and that's God. And so when God breathed the breath of life into man, man became a living soul. That's what the word of God tells us. But not only a living soul, because God is the creator. When he breathed into you, you got some creativity. And so because you have some creativity in you, you gotta find your passion. You gotta find your zest for life. You gotta find that thing that makes you tick. Now I'm gonna get into some of the little things because we dreamed for too long. I know when we were little girls, we thought about, not me, but we thought about marrying and living happily ever after. How many of that happily ever after is a joke? I said that because, and that's not to bash men, I said that because, like some of you, and I don't know your story, but I got married when I was very young. 18 years old, that's too young. That's too young to even know who you are. That's even too young to even know what you like. And sometimes as women, we give ourselves to men, not even, and we want to bring them along with us, but they're not capable of coming on our journey because they don't have what we possess. And then we say, they don't make me happy. Well, you're responsible for your own happiness. They can add to your happiness, but you are really responsible. And then we're angry at men. We're angry at people who don't fit into our mold. But everybody is not going to fit into your mold. Everybody is not your audience. This place will be packed and jammed. But you got to understand who your audience is. And you can't drag nobody. They got to be willing to come along with you. And so I say that to say, your dreams, you gotta wake up from your dreams and start living those dreams, because you know the next breath is not promised to you, tomorrow is not promised to you, and who told you you had next year? Last year, we were all taken aback by COVID that hit and affected so many lives, and the black lives disproportionately, it affected us and took us out of here. But guess what? Whatever's in your heart to do, you got to do it with vim and vigor. You got to get busy with your dreams. And I wanted to talk about the dream that you have on the inside. All of us have something that we were created to do. And when you find your passion, you find your vein of life, and the thing that you're created to do comes so easily. Just like I'm holding this mic. At one time, I did not think that I would be in a position to stand and to talk to people, but I've been through some things in life, and I don't mind sharing. So 18 years married, moved off to Louisiana in a military base. 3 children later, 14 years later, I found myself in a position where I didn't even like this man. I didn't like the man that I had married because he had not grown with me. He didn't have ideals. He didn't have things that he wanted to be. Every day was just like the next day. We got to get in a place where we're not repeating. I remember the movie that's called Groundhog, where the man woke up every day and every day was the same day. You got to get up and go past the goals, because when you have goals in life, when you grow, growth initiates change. And when you have growth goals, you'll knock those goals out of the park just by having them. You don't want to get into a position where you're writing things down and you're not reviewing them, because you got to write the vision. The scripture tells us to write the vision, make it plain. You got to review what's in your heart and what's in your dreams to do. Okay, so wake up means I'm not asleep. I'm not asleep. There's some things that are preventing you from moving on to them because we're still asleep. And we got to make it happen. Right? We got to take those ideas that we have off the shelf and move forward. So I want to fast forward a little bit into my life. Okay, so I'm separated. I'm 34 years old. I buy my first house. Buy my first house at 34 years old with 3 children. Guess why I bought a house? Can anybody tell me? Because I had 3 children and I couldn't afford an apartment. And if you are apartment ready, that's not to shame you, but you really need to own a house. And having kids is not an excuse, because a long time some of us are Facebook rich. Or we look good on Facebook, hanging out with my girl, killing it. We got these nice statuses, but our bank account don't match our status. We got our bank account don't match the status. And if you know that's you, I would challenge you today to not go into another store, but put that money in the bank. Somebody say bank. You gotta bank it. And so I bought my first house at 34 years old, 3 kids. And I'm living, and I don't even know, I call a job. Anybody got a job? Somebody said I got a real good job. But if you do have a job, because job to me, ask me what does job mean? Just over broke. Because you're living from paycheck to paycheck. A job is never designed to make you rich. You ain't gonna get rich on a job. You got to own something. Somebody say own something. You got to own something just over broke. Now I didn't come to bash you because you have a job, because I have a job. But I don't just have a job. You got to have multiple streams of income, because how many know your bills come in multiple ways? How many bills? You got the BG&E, you got the light bill, you got a telephone bill. Can you pay my telephone bill? Your bills come in multiple ways. So you got to have multiple streams of income. Somebody said multiple streams of income. Multiple streams of income. And when I said you have creativity in you, you have the ability to create the income and the life you want to live. So you got to start with the end in mind. What does that look like for you? It may not look like what it looks like for me. And I was going to say, because I talked about having the first house at 34 years old. So right now we're building a $500,000 house. Now I don't say that to impress you. I say that to impress upon you that you need to own a house. So I said, I don't want a house because you got to pay the water bill. Well, you're paying the water bill in the apartment as well. It's just shared among the number of tenants that live in the building, but you are definitely paying the water bill. So you got to sit down with some pen and paper. And last time, sometimes when we graduate from school, we don't tend to open a book anymore. We say, when we close that book, we're finished with it. But how many know that life is not finished with you? When school ends, school is out of session, but life has just begun. I went back to school when I was 40 years old, and what did that look like for me? Well, I was doing real good. I'm 60 years old now. I was doing real good. I was in school, hanging out on campus, until one day the professor broke in the middle of the class and some of the students in the class, they wanted to get some lunch because there was dinner rather, because there was a Chick-fil-A on campus. And somebody said, I ain't got no money. You know, students are broke, right? And so I go in my wallet and I'm treating everybody to Chick-fil-A, right? And then right after that, I went from D to being Miss Denise. I was like, what changed? You know, but they finally figured out that I was not like them, that I was like the oldest student in the class. But I finished that degree because I set that goal for myself. I kept on saying and making excuses, because how many know we make excuses about stuff that we should be doing, right? Not that we don't want to do. We make excuses about stuff that we should be doing. So I said, I don't want to go back to school because when I graduated from school, I'm going to be 40-some years old. I started at 40. I'm going to be 45 years old. I made up this number that I was going to be. But I was going to be that anyway, whether I got a degree or not. Right now, I'm getting ready to go back to school because there are other things that I want to do with my life, right? So I talked about there's nothing wrong with having a job, but there's something wrong with not having multiple streams of income. Now, I wanted to say this for all my employees, and if your job has something that's equivalent to a 401k, you need to maximize that if you're going to be on a job. You need to take advantage of that, because if they're going to if I gave you, every time I gave you $1, and every time you gave me $1, I gave you another, how many times would you give me $1? Yep. Over and over and over again, you give it back to me because you knew you were going to get something back in return. So I started investing without even knowing the power of investing. And that portfolio has grown to, yes, has grown, right? And I'm like, I don't know about you, but how many people like family? You like family. Everybody like family, your family. Well, my money has family, because my money has cousins. Your money need to get some cousins, right? And I don't know about you, but I get a little distraught. I don't want it to drop below 5 figures. It's got to have 5 good figures in it. I don't want it to drop below that. I don't want to loan money to people, but I want to show you what I did to get what I got, okay? And so the law of intentionality says that it's good news because it's time to start growing. One of the questions is, how do I develop myself? And what am I doing to develop others? Give Nicole a hand again. What am I doing to develop others? And I will start watching my clock, but the law of intentionality basically says that growth does not just happen. If you're going to grow, you have to plan to grow now, right? People are anxious to improve their lives, but not their circumstances. They're unwilling to prove themselves, therefore they remain bound. So you gotta be willing to improve your circumstances. I need somebody out there real quick. I got something for you. Tell me, what does mentality begin with? First person. Who said me? Come on up here. I got a pair of pearl diamond earrings for you. Because mentality begins with me. Too often we blame other people for things that happen to us and with us. But mentality, here you go, baby. You're welcome. Okay, so I lost my attachment, but mentality begins with me. The first word that I see when I see mentality, I see me. The next word I see is men. Then I see mental. Then I see tality, which really refers to your lifespan, right? But mentality begins with me. And a lot of times we give people credit for the way they treat us, what happens to us, but mentality begins with me. Poor is a mentality. Well, you know what poor means to me? Passing over opportunities repeatedly. Poor. Broke is a mentality. And so sometimes we're poor because we passed over opportunities. But when opportunity, that's why you gotta prepare. Because when opportunity meets preparedness, then you know you're ready. You don't have to get ready. Too often we're trying get ready. Okay, so now, because this iPad has kind of went to iPad heaven. I don't know. I think something interference with the Wi-Fi in here. But anyway, sometimes we don't prepare ourselves and we pass over opportunities repeatedly. That means I have a poor mentality. And I think for the young lady in the back that said it begins with me, because everything does begin with you. You can't give people credit. Sometimes we give people credit because he just treats me bad. That's because I'll allow it. It begins with me. They dismiss me. That's because I'll allow it. It begins with me. And so we got to prepare our minds mentally for the next step in the next journey that's ahead of us. So when I think about mentality, I think about me and where I want to go, because your journey is going to be quite different from mine. Her journey is going to be quite different from yours. And so I want to say for the people that say, well, they don't like me, or you got to go where you're celebrated and not where you're tolerated. Because some people are just going to tolerate you, but you got to go amongst people, right, that celebrate you. Who and what are you hanging with? Are those people conducive for where you're going, right? I said that I was married, and eventually I did have to get that divorce. You know why I hated to get the divorce? It wasn't because I loved the man. It was that nobody in my family was divorced. My grandparents didn't divorce. My parents didn't divorce. Nobody in my family, and that had not been modeled for me. But you got to know when to let go. Because loving you is killing me. You got to know when to let go. And it's all right to let go. It's like opening your hand. You see how it just frees you. Sometimes you got to open your hand. And we have sometimes as women, we'll say, because I'm looking at younger women, and we'll say, he cheated on me. And we're angry and we're upset because he cheated on me. But how come you can't think much more of yourself and say, he cheated himself? Because I'm the catch. He missed out on me. He cheated himself. And for people that don't want to be around you, right? You missed a good opportunity, because I'm a good person. You missed a good opportunity. You missed a good friend. And keep it moving. Sometimes we got to keep it moving. When we don't fit in, don't try to fit in. Because obviously you don't fit in for a reason. Keep it moving. You got to keep it moving. And so I want to talk about a little bit about, I said finances, and I'm kind of skipping a little bit because I wanted to stay on track with my notes, but I think it's going to flow. And so some of us are Facebook rich. We look good. Our profile pictures, you know, and if somebody was to meet us, but you know, one thing about me, I haven't changed very much in almost 60 years. People that knew me in high school, they'll see me and be like, hey, Niecy, how you doing? They call me Niecy. Don't you try it. I don't like that name. But anyway, my mother could call me that, but she's no longer with us, so I've retired the name. But anyway, but I kind of stayed the same in terms of look, in terms of weight, or whatever. I basically kind of stayed the same, right? But my point is this: we got to get to a place where there's some stability with us. Sometimes our emotions are all over the place. Like somebody could do something and affect our emotions. Like for instance, if I was just to have an argument with this young lady right here, one of the things we gotta learn is not to mirror what's happening, and nothing got accomplished. Sometimes you gotta step back from it and walk away from it because it doesn't amount to anything. And so with your career, if you find, there's something where I said I was a mental coach, if you find somebody that's doing the same thing that you're doing, that's a level above where you want to be, you got to learn how to network and not see women as your competition. Because we're not in competition with nobody but ourselves. I'm not your competition. I'm not your competition. So you got to find somebody somebody that's going to help you. One of the persons that that does a lot of work with women that I associate with, she has a movement similar to this, and it's "Girl, Hold My Hand." Because hold my hand will show you, and that's how we gotta learn. Remember when we were children? I had all sisters, so I still have all sisters. And when we went to school, we used to walk to school back in the day. We didn't, and I don't know how long I've been talking. Have I been talking too long? No. I don't know. My notes let me know when I talk too long, but I don't have them, so I'm just freestyling on tonight. But I have a lot of information. So we talked a little bit about finances, but relationships. Sometimes we're not in the right place in our relationship, and we like him because he's cute, and we like him because he got a nice car, and we like him because he got some money. But when you get your own, right, you're gonna attract the people that have the same thing that you have, right? It's no longer about you're coming along to accompany him or compliment him. So I'm married now. I'm in the 11th year, right? And when I met my now husband, he was a police officer, and I was riding brakes because I didn't know. First of all, I was raising 3 kids. Remember that? I was raising 3 kids, and I was like, and this man looks like he got it all together. This man one thing I did know about him, because I watched him. That's one thing we don't watch. We don't watch. And when we see a red flag, we love it. We don't get it together. And see, there's nothing wrong with the red flag, right? When you see a red flag, you gotta have a conversation. I noticed that you slammed the door when you walked out your mother's house. What's up with that? But we try to fix it and say, well, he's mad at his mother. But maybe he's an angry individual that he needs to fix that relationship with his mother. Because how he treat mama, he gonna treat you just like that. And so I watched him. And he was been married before, so I watched him how he was with his ex-wife. I watched him how he paid his bills. Because he paid his bills on time, I was like, oh, wait a minute now. Now, I got to step it up a little bit because, I'm waiting for payday. As soon as the bill came in, he was writing a check. Yeah, okay, all right. So, so what I did was, I started trying to do that, but I wasn't able to do it like he was able to do it. So we got to talk to one of the things I did find out about him, he was in the military, he was in the Marine Corps before he retired from the Marine Corps, but he was a finance officer in the Marine Corps, right? And even with his ex-wife, at the time, he wasn't in the system, y'all. He wasn't in the system. He was writing that check every week, sending it to her. And I was like, wow, okay. But I wasn't trying to get my hopes up high, even though, and I had a situation going on when I first met him. My daughter was carrying twins at the time. That was a lot. And he was like, I'll put it in one of my houses and her and the baby can be fine. I'm like, no, you're not, But I had to ride the brakes because he was more assertive than I was. I'm now, I've changed the whole 365, but he was a little bit more assertive. And I was like, it was kind of like, is this police thing or is this just this man? Because I wasn't used to nobody opening that door for me. And one time I tried to get out the car. He was opening the door. I tried to get out the car and he was like, you wait until I open that door. Now I told you I had bought my own house, number one. And I was my own woman, and I own my own house and stuff. So, my father had been deceased since I was 12, and I was like, can you tell me what to do? In my mind, but I learned to sit in that car until he came around and opened that door. My neighbors across the alley said, I see you open the door for your wife all the time. My husband don't do that for me. I said, she better mind her business. You never know who's watching you. But I'm good with it because if you were in the car, he would open the door for you as well. He don't just do it for me, he do it for you. He'll do it for anybody that's coming behind as well. So I watched him, right? Then we love heat, right? We love that heat. So we ignore the red flags, and then another one comes, and then it's 2 minutes, and now we fussing and fighting and going up beside each other here when we could have had a conversation, and you could have said, this doesn't work for me, baby. You're a good person, but you're not good for me. And ain't nothing wrong with that. That's honorable. Then it be dragged along in a relationship where you're not happy with. And so I watched red flag come up, and I'm like, right? And so the best time to talk to somebody is not when you're upset. The best time to talk to someone is when you thought about it and you have a leveled head. So what I said was, when I had that level head, I didn't like the way you spoke to me the other day. And I will not be spoken to that way. I really performed. And it wasn't even that serious, right? But guess what he don't do? Yeah, he pops at the school. But he don't talk to me like that way. And it wasn't even all that serious, but I was like, if I don't stop him now. And sometimes we let stuff go on too long. And then when we're ready to put a halt to it, it becomes a big thing, because we should have stopped it and nipped it right in the bud. And then that way it would not have grown or festered into what it became, right? And so we can't put our happiness in nobody else's hand. So when I watched him, I was like, oh, I gotta do something with my finances because he won't respect me. But what was liberating for me was when I saved my first $10,000. I told you my money got cousins. You couldn't tell me nothing. I thought I was rich. But rich is relative. It really is. Because somebody say, how many people been in poverty? Well, I can't really say that I've been in poverty, even though I was raising 3 kids by myself. I remember during that time, I took my pay stub up to energy assistance. I was trying to get some energy assistance, y'all. So I gave my pay stub. You had to bring 2 pay stubs and a light bill and so on. The lady said, ma'am, just come back when you don't have no overtime on this check. And I said, there's no overtime on you. This is just regular salary. She said, well, just thank God you're making that kind of money, right? And so I set in my mind what I wanted to earn. And like I said, you gotta have plans for your own money. I set in my mind what I wanted to earn. And I was like, And 5 is a good number, but it ain't my number, right? I was like, this 5 figures ain't working for me. I need some more money. And then when I got to 6 is good. 6 is a good number. 6 is a good number. I got to 6 figures, right? That's over 100,000, right? I was like, they need some cousins with them. Because this ain't working for me. But my money is not just about me. You know why I need more money? I need like 7 figures or more. Because I need to be able to have a platform such as this or larger where I can give into other women and bless other women. Not only that, I'd like to see a wake up bro. Because we got some bros that are walking around here that need to wake up and realize that they are not baby boy. They can't live in their mama's basement and date you. They can't drive up in their mama's car and get you. They can't take you in an Uber now unless y'all plan on drinking. But because I don't have a car, we need somebody to pour into some of these men as well. When we doing that? Okay, so I'm going to tell you when. Listen to when. Okay, so I told y'all that I was a pastor. So in the Bible, right, the Bible talks about how Adam laid to sleep. And God took a rib out of his side and he formed Eve. But what was Adam doing before God took that rib out of his side? He was asleep. And so my theory is this: let Adam sleep until God makes him. Because we're too busy trying to wake Adam up with our cologne, with our big old butts and BBLs and whatever. We're trying to wake Adam up and make an Adam. But only God can really make a man out of a man. Thank you. But that's the truth. We're trying to make him. We're trying to do what his mother couldn't do. We're trying to do that. But you can't raise a man. You you can't really make him into what you want him to be. No more than he can make you into, but he can beat you into submission. So we talked about, not now, but way back when, and my daughter knows this. So at some point, I told you I had to get that divorce, and I was hanging on because I didn't want to let go, right? And so I was in a position where, anybody know what conditioning is? It's that new pair of shoes that you broke in and you don't want to pay, and you can put them in your feet. They're the most comfortable thing, right? Because that's conditioned. That's what they do with the baseball glove. They put that oil in it and they tie it up and they condition it, right? Because sometimes that's what we condition, and we're used to saltine crackers, and when the Ritz cracker come along, we don't even realize what it is because, we're used to eating saltines, but I'm going to tell you right now that everything tastes good on the Ritz. Ain't that what the Ritz commercial said? And so we're so used to artificial sugar that when the real sweetener come along, we don't even know it because we're not used to it. And that's how I was. I wasn't used to it. At some point, it became an abusive marriage. And you can look at me today and probably figure out that I don't take too much. And it didn't start off that way. It started off with conditioning. Conditioning. And how many know that hurt people hurt people? And so if you're with someone who is hurting and he always finding fault with you, the fault is not with you. That's an inside job that needs to be reckoned with. If people are name calling, that's not you. They're calling you what they see so they can hurt you, but something is wrong on the inside, and you can't fix that. That's something that therapy can do, not you. You can sit up with them, you can talk to them, baby, don't hit me no more, but until they get that right actions, right, right results, until they get that therapy, that what they need, and if you're not a therapist, let him go. Because you can't work on him. You can't work on him. But happily married, some years later, got their finances in order, started putting cousins with the other cousins, and, putting the Benjamins with the Benjamins and the Franklins with the Franklins, and, started getting it together. And I was in a position where, for the first time, if something happened to the roof of my house, I could just write a check. If something happened to, credit score, you know what? Because they get us. They get us because we get us. Because we rather put it all on our face, on our nails, on our hair. But we ain't got no cousins in the bank. We ain't got twins in the bank, And if your credit score, I said 700, right? But you gotta have a decent credit score, because when you go get that automobile, you might be able to ride what you want to ride, but when they put that 7%, that's too much interest on that car. Too much interest. If you got credit card debt, you got to make a commitment to yourself. Commit to yourself, not to me, because I don't have credit card debt. But you got to commit to yourself that I'm getting this, because the borrow is laid to the lender. In other words, that's why some of us are getting up, going to work, because we got to pay the bills, right? We're not going for the shield, and we hate the job. How many on the job they hate? Not me, I'm putting it down. How many on the job they hate? Everybody on the job? I love my job. I'm just over broke, and I like it. Don't pay me no attention. I'm just having fun. But if you're in a position where you absolutely hate your job, what is it? You need pen and paper. What is it that you really want to be doing that you're not doing? You got to put some questions to your own self. And I had one quote, and I'm going to be finished, because I'm all off script and what have you, and so on and so on. Oh, I know. So, you have to, and that's why I said we're thankful for Nicole, right? You have to, instead of following people, you got to create a path and let others find the trail. Because sometimes we're not going to get that help or that handout that we need. But if you create a path, let somebody else find the trail. I'm Denise. Hope you enjoy.